Hi there. We're really glad you found us. My name is Darren Sutton. We are devoted to amateur softball. This is Perfect Game Softball on Perfect Game TV. Oklahoma is where we go this week. Two great conversations. Grace Lyons, a starting shortstop for the Sooners, will join us. Incredible on the field. Big bat, huge evolution. But off the field, an even better story. You're going to want to hear that one. And the impact with the bats for Oklahoma, just devastating. I mean, intimidating offensively, having a perfect season. But this is a team that hardly ever strikes out, that walks all the time. The philosophies and the leadership of assistant coach J.T. Gasso, he will join us as well. Let's get it going. The Oklahoma Sooners, the #1 team in the land, a perfect year thus far. Our guest this week on Perfect Game Softball right now. We welcome you back to Perfect Game Softball, a stop in Norman, Oklahoma this week, and we've been excited about this show for a long time. And there's an athlete I can't wait to chat with for a variety of reasons. This is the mainstay at shortstop for one of the best teams in history, if you're talking about college softball. This is someone who is an anchor and a leader inside the locker room and then away from the field as well. Grace Lyons joins us, and I'm a little bit biased because she's an Arizonan, though she probably claims a lot of the world as her home because as a military brat growing up, she lived in a lot of different places. Grace, thanks for spending time on our unique show. We really are excited to get to know you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So when I go back to your time here, kind of the home studio here is in Arizona, and you were growing up here across town at Sandra Day O'Connor, and you were making your decision as a young athlete, 8th grade, 9th grade, sophomore, junior. You were making the decision about where you wanted to go to school. Am I to understand that you and your family decided, I'm not rushing this thing. There is starting to be interest in who I am as an athlete. I'm going to prayerfully make this decision. I'm not rushing it. Kind of walk me through how you decided on Oklahoma and the time before making that decision.
Yeah, it's crazy how early the recruiting process was, and I know it had been for a while, and it recently changed, thankfully, just to give athletes a chance to grow and develop. But back in 8th grade, I had actually just recently switched over from baseball. So I'd played baseball up until about 14 when the field got to 90 feet, and people just encouraged me to kind of make that switch because they knew that the recruiting process was early, and I did have the opportunity to possibly get recruited at that age. And I know that I really got involved with On Deck Camps, which was a really good recruiting organization who held national camps, just little combine kind of things around the country. And I was thankful to be invited to some national ones. And that's kind of where the interest started. And just Coach Gasso and then actually Coach Lombardi, who's at Oregon now, actually first saw me in Georgia at one of those camps. And that's kind of when the interest started with that. And OU was my first unofficial visit. That was my first step on a college campus other than just kind of going to visit some Arizona schools because I had lived there. But I really had compared everything else to OU, just the people there in Oklahoma, just the culture of Oklahoma in general, and then Coach Gasso and the coaching staff, just how different it was. I mean, I was in 8th grade. My faith is super important to me, but in 8th grade, I was really still developing that. So I didn't really completely understand kind of what they stood for, but I did know that there was something different. And my parents had a big influence on kind of directing me with that and making me aware of how unique it was. So it was really cool to just go on other visits and honestly just compare all of them to OU. And that's kind of where I ended up choosing because I just knew something different about it. And now that I'm immersed in it, it's incredible. It's so much better than I could have even imagined from the outside. And I'm blessed to have gotten an opportunity to play for them. And it's been nothing but amazing memories and lessons so far.
When you see an athlete like Jordy Ball have an impact from the jump, it's very difficult to do as a freshman. And you reflect back on your time. You play for Tony Rico and the Firecrackers. You in the travel ball, high school ball world, you were ready. You won a state title. But how difficult is it to do what you did, to do what Jordy's doing? How much did you have baptism by fire? To be the starting shortstop, you're not hiding anywhere in the outfield. You're the starting shortstop on the program. How challenging was it for you? How nervous were you when you first earned that opportunity as a freshman?
Yeah, it's intimidating a little bit when you come into a program that has just recently come off national championships and you're surrounded by Sid Romero, Shane Knighton, Kaylee Clifton, all these stars that you hear about growing up. But, as I was growing in my faith in high school, I got this awesome piece of advice that I need to go into whatever, a season of life, but I need to go into this program with the mentality of influence rather than be influenced by the culture. And yes, the culture was amazing, but when you think of college in general, you know that there's so many opportunities to go different directions. And my mentality was going in to have some sort of an influence in my faith of my team. Even though I was 18 years old playing with 22-year-olds, I knew that that was kind of my mission and my purpose. And I can confidently say that that was the best advice that I had been given. And I'm excited to say that that definitely had an impact on who I am and how I've grown as a Christian athlete on that team. And I think going in with that mentality, you gain respect from your teammates. And that's something that I've gained respect for Jordy, for sure, with her coming in with her mentality, her passion, her drive. It's something that other people notice, that there's something different about you when you enter a new team. And Jordy's not a rookie anymore. She's a veteran. And I think that's probably, maybe how others saw me. And as a shortstop, you can't be timid. You ultimately are a leader on the team, no matter your age. So I definitely had to have that mentality going in, and I was blessed to be surrounded by those seniors who were able to encourage me and challenge me and teach me leadership lessons.
The ability to influence is there. I mean, your numbers have pulled attention towards you, the success of your team, and you've used it for definitely a positive. You've walked your walk that you're talking about from your early days. I want to talk to you about the Players Conference coming up this August, 8th through 10th of this summer, at the end of the summertime. Your goal is to pull a group of athletes together, like sport. I'm hoping you have them from all over the country, but to Norman, Oklahoma, faith-based conference, softball players. I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, it's an idea that came about after the World Series last year, and I kind of put it together in about a month or two. Just with this idea to unite the softball world in faith, something that, there are different Christian athletes, softball players at other schools, but sometimes you don't know who they are, or it's just unnamed, and maybe you're the only one at your school and you're just a little bit scared or fearful that maybe you don't fit in like that. But my goal is to allow all those different people to be confident in their faith, to come to one place over the summer, to create relationships with other girls throughout the country, like you're saying, and then to go back to their teams, to have Bible studies, to be able to pray with their team, to go out to coffee and talk about Jesus just off the field. So that was kind of the goal with that. And from the first year, it was amazing. We had a baptism, and I'm excited this year to have it in Norman. And I've actually been able to tell teams about it when we play them this year. And I'm excited to see, how the turnout is. If one person, or if every person from the conference can bring a teammate and possibly bring some more, I think it's going to be a great turnout, and hopefully it can just continue to grow, and hopefully into other sports. That's ultimately my goal, to bring this to other sports, because it's so important. We're only here for 4 years, and it's much more than the sport we're playing.
So if you're catching this on stream somewhere, you're watching it on YouTube, stuff like this needs an underwriter. Go out there and underwrite her efforts. Help to get young athletes on planes and places to stay, because right now you're only charging $50. Congratulations on your effort. I'm excited to see how it goes. I really can't wait to hear about it. That passion, that leadership. Were those examples provided for you? Faith is individual. We all know that. It's an individual choice we all make. It's internal. But did your mom and dad provide that sort of example for you? I mean, obviously your dad's disciplined, decades as an F-16 pilot, and, traveled around the world with you guys. You were born in Germany. Did your parents provide that sort of example for you to take you to this step?
Yeah, I was blessed enough to have a Christian household growing up. But as everyone knows, there's a point in your life where you have to make your faith your own. And that's something that happened in the middle of high school, when high school is a tough time. Middle school and high school are tough times because there's so many things pulling your attention and distractions, and you're really trying to figure out who you are. And ultimately, college does that for you. So I yes, had a great example growing up, going to church, and just continuing to grow as a family in that with awesome examples. But kind of where my faith took off was having a mentor who was outside of my family. Because, when you listen to your mom and dad, there's only so much they can say that you're not going to give them the cold shoulder. So that outside influence of a mentor, Kelly Schmidt, who worked with FCA, FCA has brought me to an incredible point in my life where I have that mentality of influence like we talked about. But Kelly Schmidt had a major impact on my life, just encouraging me to go speak my faith and grow and tell others about it. So that had a huge influence on where I'm at. And I hope to be that person to other people, kind of like I'm doing with this conference and just encouraging others.
She's on Cameo, by the way. Go find her on Cameo. She'll send out a positive message. Doing great stuff. When you go visit go visit her social media, and you'll see the link to Players Conference. She's got some cool gear there, some cool shirts, sweatshirts, all that stuff. The ball you hit out against Wichita State, okay, I'm sorry, I have a baseball here, but the ball you hit out against Wichita State to walk off, so your third homer, was literally cap bill high. I'd love to know about it, the approach of a swing that handles a rise ball that starts here, right? Starts here, ends up here. That's a beautiful swing. I mean, to be able to handle a pitch there, when you go back and watch that on video, you've got to be, it's like a baseball player that hits a sinker at his shoe tops. That's just tough to do, to make that kind of adjustment, right? Talk to me about your swing and how it's evolved this year and how you can handle maybe some pitches. Pitch recognition matters, we know that, but talk to me about your swing and how it's evolved this year.
I mean, I know coming into college, I love defense, and hitting just wasn't my favorite. I just love making those defensive plays, but
really,
I've grown.
No one says that.
I know, it's rare, but hey, defense is my baby. But I've grown to love hitting more and more, just working with JT, and I've just learned that there's so much that goes into hitting, but when you simplify it, it's simply your timing and hitting balls and strikes. And that's kind of what I've learned. And in that at bat, I mean, I obviously had success the rest of the earlier in the day. And I knew that this girl didn't want to pitch to me. I think it was 2-0. And I'm facing her, looking at her, and she gets the sign and she starts laughing and like shakes her head nervously. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we're at that point to where, you don't want to throw a strike. You don't want to throw your best pitch. So I'm aware, okay, you're not going to give me something fat over the plate. So that's kind of where you just naturally have to adjust and know I'm not going to get the best pitch to hit, but eye-hand coordination is going to take over. And if it's close, just swing hard, hit through the ball, and the rest will take over.
Yeah, and it was beautiful. I mean, that's a unique swing. Love seeing that swing. That ended things. The walk-off grand slam as well. And then what I must admit, because as I told you, your softball speaks for itself, but the way you present yourself, a lot of your social media is a lot of fun. The piece you had on YouTube, you and Michael Turk do a lot of great things. The punter, right, for OU?
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of great video. I mean, the content is great. And you basically ran around what looked like a quad with a foam bat and ball, talking about how to hit 3 dingers. May I have permission? Because if my editor will edit that in, may I have permission to show a little bit of that on this show? Yes?
Oh, yeah. I would love him to get some hype from his YouTube. He's doing a great job with that, but it's fun to make. It's really fun. After doing some homework, getting my day started, I like to go outside and get some practice dingers in, just to get my mindset right, but also to tell myself I can hit dingers with a foam bat and a foam ball. So why can't I do it in the game?
Now, when you're doing this, do students ever walk by and ask what you're doing?
When I'm training hard like that, I don't even notice the people around me. It's not about that. So my head's down, focus. Yeah, there might be some giggles in the background, but I don't care. I'm training hard. I like to get my homework done at the beginning of the day, just so I know I finished it and I can focus on the game the rest of the day. I also like to take a little nap and dream about hitting dingers. I also like to wake up a bit by drinking an energy drink. And I like to make unconventional drills that football players usually do, but I like to get my central nervous system fired up and ready to go. I also like to get my hips firing by punting. I learned this from hang time.
You hit dingers on the bat and off your foot.
What does this do before the game?
I don't really know. I like to warm up my accuracy by throwing some spirals. Dinger.
Okay, Grace, now that we saw all of that, what is the final tip to hitting 3 dingers in one game?
Okay, none of that really matters.
You serious?
It's all about working hard, swinging hard, but trusting the Lord with all your heart.
There you have it, folks. We'll see you in the next one. Grace, love, peace, and mercy.
Hey, did you film this after you had hit the 3 dingers?
Yeah, he gets these ideas randomly, and we just thought to make some fun out of it. I hate to even bring light to hitting home runs, but I try to be super humble with it and just make some fun out of it. So all in good fun. And at the end, at the end is the important part where you just explain, trust in Jesus and that none of that matters, but it's fun to make that stuff.
What's it like to be a part of this team that you've been on? Your travel ball team was good. You won a state championship, but you're 32-0. Everyone wants to. We had UCLA on, all UCLA last week, and they're having a special year. For you guys, how much fun is it to button your stuff up, to go out and play, and to realize, man, no matter who you're playing, they want to beat you so bad. They woke up in their cereal in the morning thinking about beating you. How much fun is that?
Man, you can't dream it better. I mean, I think being blessed to be at the top is one thing, but we don't think of it like that. Our team is super, we have a championship mindset, which is blue collar mentality, get down to work hard, don't deserve much, nothing's given to us. And I think that mentality allows us to go out and just compete every single day and have fun with it. I think this team is unique in that there's a lot of young ones, and they bring a bunch of joy to the game, and we know that people are giving us our best. We wouldn't want it any differently. We wouldn't want anyone to be timid or fearful, but give us what you got, and we're going to return the favor. So it's been fun to do that and just learn. Obviously, it's unique coming off from a championship because you can't be lazy, you can't be complacent with that. So we've been kind of figuring out how we want to continue to play and how our mentality needs to remain kind of neutral with that, neutral thinking, not too high, not too low. But we've got some really fun players who just bring fun to the locker room, to the cheers, all of that. And it's just exciting to see freshmen stepping up, to see Jossie doing her thing. It's incredible. You really can't draw it better than it is with kind of what we've got rolling. And I'm excited to be a part of it and also have one more year next year.
Yeah, it's incredible. Grace Lyons, it's been a pleasure to get to know you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Our stop in Norman, Oklahoma. This is Perfect Game Softball on Perfect Game TV. When we stopped in campus in Oklahoma, we knew we would find some great offense, and we knew we'd have a great conversation with Grace Lyons, and we did. And now we thought we'd grow a little bit in this area because Grace talked about the impact that our next guest has had in JT Gasso, assistant coach and a national champion assistant coach on this team. A fun journey, obviously starting out as a graduate assistant at Oklahoma, time in the Big Ten in Michigan State and Purdue, but he is all Sooner now with the huge impact, and JT spends time with us now. So I'm going to start right there, JT, real quick. You heard the intro. Grace is overwhelming. I mean, as a person, obviously we know she can play. The numbers tell us that, but wow, what a leader for your team. What a luxury it is to have someone like that in the middle of your infield who can impact the younger players like Jordy and those that have come along. What a neat player to have on your team like Grace.
Yeah, no, she's the one thing she's done since she's come in is learned, and she's committed to developing. And, sometimes it's kind of hard to feel that once you get to a certain place that there's more that you gotta work on. And she's really taken to that. She's never satisfied, always feels like she can improve in some area. And I just think it sets the standard for the younger kids coming in, just kind of how you mentioned.
So when I look at your staff and I look at what you've done offensively again this year, you had a record-setting year last year, set NCAA records at every level. I mean, on-base slug, home runs, runs per game. You're having an incredible year this year. I dove back into the early stages of your coaching, and you were big on game prep when you were a graduate assistant. You were big on scouting. You were big on prepping the day for the athletes. How much of that is still you? In other words, when you're kind of the guru behind the offense, how much of understanding who you're facing, making sure you work smart, not just, false hustle work through it. How much of that is still you as a veteran coach now in passing along ways to prepare offensively?
Yeah, I think that's always kind of been, I guess, my thing is stepping in and trying to figure out ways how we can help our team win. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned over the past 7, 8 years, however long it's been, is relaying the message to our players and making sure it's not my game plan, but it's our game plan. It's their game plan. Because at the end of the day, one thing I always tell them is they're the ones in the box hitting. I'm not hitting. I'm not competing in there. The only thing I can do is just help prepare hitters be ready when they're in the box. So I think it's important that, although game plan and everything is important, absolutely, but what's more important is that we can translate what we're trying to say into a language or into verbiage that they can understand and that they can execute.
JT, the one thing I noticed in chatting with Grace was kind of an overall humility that embodies the program. In other words, none of us, according to her, none of us are entitled to any of this. Yet, you guys understand how to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Help me kind of understand what she was talking about, because when you're as good as you guys are, and every single year you've got a target on your back, not always does humility embody the program. Do you understand what she was saying? You guys seem to stay very, very humble, despite the fact that the world is watching you play.
Yeah, I just think there's always something that's it's bigger than us. There's people that have come before us in this program, in this sport, in coaching, in athletic. There's always people that have come before us, and we aren't special in the fact that what we're doing is way beyond what everyone else. It's one of those things where we just have, I guess, a perspective of we are just a tiny little note in the sport of softball. And we don't get caught up in the results or the outcomes, and I know that's kind of easy to say, and that's kind of a cliche that you hear a lot of is not getting caught up in the outcomes, but the process. But it's something that we've really bought into, and it's happened since before I started here. When Coach came in, it's something that she's had, essentially how I grew up, but essentially what's been in this program and the programs before that she's been at is that sense of development and kind of like I alluded to earlier, getting better and just paying it forward to the people that are coming after you. And it's just, it's sometimes it's kind of hard to explain, but it's just the way that we are, and it's the way that we go about things.
Do you think sometimes, and you may see it in the pitcher's eyes out there in the circle, not always, but do you think sometimes intimidation can actually negate the aggression of the athlete you're facing in the circle? When I look at 166 walks and only 85 strikeouts, I got to giggle. I mean, that's kind of silly. I mean, that's laughable, those numbers. And again, it's not looking to pump you guys up because you said you guys don't get into that. But those numbers, statistically, you played baseball, now you're a leader in softball. Those numbers aren't supposed to happen. Do you think at times just the fact that they're dealing with your team can crawl inside of a pitcher's head and you guys take advantage?
I don't know. It's tough to say.
Because I think so. If you don't know, I think so. I pitched on the mound for a long time in the minor leagues, and and you played. I mean, I think so, and it's nothing you guys can control. And I guess I'm asking because Grace talked about that third home run she hit the other day, a rise ball that was up at her helmet that she hit out against Wichita State. Basically reading the pitcher's reaction between her and the catcher, it was amazing, her description, and it just seems like at times you guys do have an advantage where pitchers just become timid.
Yeah, that's tough to say because, it's outside of our dugout and whatnot. But, I think the big thing is that standard was set before, like when I was a GA, I came in and, those type of walk to strikeout numbers was like expected. So when I came in, I was like, oh, okay, that's just the way it is. And then it didn't change, when I came back. So it's something that, play discipline and game plans and all those things is stuff that we work on. And the execution of it sometimes can lead to that. But as far as going into another pitcher's psyche and whatnot, I wouldn't know what that how that pertains to.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And the expectations, it's so amazing. If I'm going to give you, can I just throw a few hitters at you and you just tell me about them? You can tell me about their mechanics. You can tell me about the human being, whatever you'd like to. And I'll start with Jocelyn. Obviously, the record she sets, but she's someone you see warm up all the time. You see her in the cages. You see her at a team meal. You can talk approach and mechanics, whatever you'd like to. But talk to me about the legendary now Jocelyn Alo.
Humble, and in the sense that we still have conversations about, her swing or what she's seeing, what she's feeling, and she seeks those things out. And ever since she came in, it was kind of cool that she was just able to say, like, help me. I want to do anything I can to get better. So you help me. I was like, oh, okay. So I'm just kind of glad that I could be just a small part in her journey. But I think the big thing that sets her apart is just the relentless pursuit of competitiveness every day. Every time she steps in the box, she's competing. And she doesn't like to throw her bats away. And that's something that sometimes it's hard to teach. And she does not take things for granted, for sure.
The left-handed swing of Talon Snow.
She is such a freak athletically, and people wouldn't I don't know if they would know that or if they see that, but she has some of the best hands that I've seen. She can hit any pitch. She can go up, she can go down, in, out. And I think what was pretty cool is she developed as a stand-in hitter. And in high school, I know she talked about her being a slapper, and she kind of went away with that her first couple years, and then to now mesh the two together to where she can slap and stand in, I think is something that you don't really see a lot of people do. And I think she does it at a very high elite level.
I had her on this show. We had her on with Amanda Freed, who usually co-hosts with me. But boy, I loved getting to know a couple of years back Jada Coleman. Now, what have you seen? That's another left-handed swing. I'd love to hear what you see in her currently as a sophomore.
Yeah, I think last year what you saw a lot of was just natural ability and just her not really knowing. She didn't know what she didn't know. That makes sense. So, she was able to just step in and swing the bat and do things really well. And so now as she's learned a lot, and she is a master at competing and having game plans and just seeing the field. Her softball IQ is through the roof. And so now as she's learned a lot about herself, her body, her swing, the game, she is learning how to compartment, how to just sift through different things and what she needs, what she doesn't need. And yeah, it's fun to see her to go through this whole process.
This is kind of fun. Homegrown athlete, Riley Boone. Tell me about her.
Riley Boone. Oh man, she is awesome because she's one that just at the end of the day is just going to compete. It doesn't matter what we're playing. She gets after. We could be playing Uno, and she is coming after. We could be playing, water polo, and she probably can't swim the best, but she's going to figure out a way to make it happen. So what's been fun about her too is, and you're going to hear this a lot about a lot of the players, is their commitment to getting better. And when she came in, it was I can slap and bunt and get to first. And she's really been one to again kind of mesh the two together and stand in and know when to do one and when the situation calls for something else.
I don't want to leave anyone out. I'm going to end up doing that. The last athlete I want to ask you about, I always geek out on the plus fill in the blank from batting average to on base percentage, because the former pitcher in me thinks what an awful at bat it would be to deal with Janna Johns. And I see that she's hitting 314, but I also see her on base is nearly 500, which tells me she's going to work her tail off when she's in the box. Tell me who she is as a hitter.
Yeah, and I know one thing that we really look at a ton too is her OPS is, I think it's above 1,200 or is floating somewhere around there. But she's one that has really took well to the culture of the program. And when she stepped in, it was just kind of the same thing. Like, I want to compete, I want to go for it, and that's been a big thing for her. Is just like, sometimes it's okay to tell yourself that you're really good when you step into the box. Like, humble doesn't mean you can't tell yourself that you're not good, or whatever the case is. But the big thing for her is when she steps in, she strikes fear in other people. I know her presence alone is just a lot, and she puts the work in. She does all the little things right, and it's really fun seeing her kind of take off this year as well.
Amazing, JT. Thank you so much for spending time with us. We really appreciate your insights.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
This was our stop. This was our stop on campus at Oklahoma. Grace Lyons, JT Gasso. Really appreciate their insights of both. So far, a perfect year for this squad. We'll see you again next week on